Hello and welcome to our podcast about artificial intelligence. Today we'll be discussing how AI is changing the world around us.
Indeed.
And in this deep dive, we're focusing on something that might sound like science fiction, but is increasingly a reality: AI hacking.
Exactly. We've been looking at sources that explore how artificial intelligence is no longer just, a tool for innovation,
Right.
but is also being leveraged to conduct cyber attacks. It raises some pretty serious questions about the future of digital security.
Okay, let's unpack this. So the mission we're on today is to really understand this growing threat: cyber attacks powered by AI. And see how it's fundamentally changing the cybersecurity landscape.
Well, it feels like we're moving into a new era of digital threats, doesn't it?
That's right. The increased capabilities, the widespread adoption of AI. Well, unfortunately, it's got the attention of those with malicious intent.
Yeah, you can see how that would happen.
And one key point that emerged, particularly from a UK National Cybersecurity Center report, the NCSC.
Is their prediction. They see a significant increase in both the volume and the impact of AI-driven cyber attacks
And soon, right.
within the next 2 years. That's a
Right.
pretty clear signal of the urgency here.
It really is. And what's particularly striking, I thought, was the idea that AI is essentially, well, democratizing cybercrime.
That's a good way to put it.
The NCSC report suggests it's lowering the barrier to entry.
Exactly. Making sophisticated hacking techniques accessible even to individuals who might not have, the deep technical skills traditionally required.
Right, the novices.
Yeah, and what's fascinating to consider is how this aligns with perspectives from industry experts, too.
Like who?
Like J.C. Raby from J.P. Morgan Investment Banking, speaking at the RSA conference earlier this year,
Oh, okay. What do they say?
made the point that AI isn't necessarily creating entirely new categories of threats,
Oh, okay.
but it's significantly accelerating and amplifying the existing ones. It's about speed and scale, really.
Right. It's like taking the established methods, the things attackers already do, and just giving them a massive upgrade, a turbo boost.
Precisely.
So let's get into the specifics then. How is AI actually being used to carry out cybercrime? It's one thing to talk about the potential, but what does that look like, in practice?
Well, the sources emphasize that AI systems, with their ability to learn and adapt,
Yeah.
and crucially, without any built-in ethical considerations, they can be specifically trained to execute cyber attacks.
Trained to be malicious.
Essentially, yes. And a critical area here is generative AI. I think of models like ChatGPT that can create new content.
Those large language models, LLMs.
Exactly, LLMs. They're proving to be powerful tools in the hands of threat actors.
So, okay, instead of a cybercriminal having to painstakingly write, like, a highly convincing phishing email themselves.
Right, which takes time and skill.
They can essentially instruct a generative AI to do it, and it can produce something remarkably realistic, like down to the language and tone.
That's exactly it. The sources specifically mention using generative AI to automate the creation of these sophisticated phishing emails and even fake documents that look legitimate.
Wow.
And the potential applications extend beyond just crafting text. The sources also raise concerns about AI being used to develop self-evolving malware,
Self-evolving, what does that mean?
software that can actually modify its own code to evade detection.
Oh, that's clever. And dangerous.
Very. And even generating realistic deepfake videos for manipulation. It just introduces a whole new level of sophistication and adaptability to the threat landscape.
Okay, so we're seeing examples of how AI is being applied in cybercrime. But let's define our terms a bit more precisely, maybe. What exactly are AI cyber attacks?
Good point. The sources define them as basically hacking operations that leverage AI mechanisms and advanced machine learning algorithms.
Okay.
The key differentiator is the AI's capacity, its ability to identify vulnerabilities, predict patterns in security defenses, and exploit weaknesses. Much faster, yes, and at a much greater scale than traditional human-driven methods.
So it's not just about automating existing attacks, it's about the intelligence that AI brings to that automation.
Yeah, great.
The AI can essentially learn and adjust its tactics in real time based on the defenses it encounters.
That's precisely it. That's where the significant tactile advantage for attackers lies. AI provides not only automation, but also that crucial layer of adaptability, autonomy even.
And I think I read something particularly worrying.
Yeah.
The sources mentioned these AI attacks can learn from their mistakes.
Yes, that's a key point. They learn from successes and failures, allowing them to continually evolve and potentially bypass existing cybersecurity protocols.
Constantly getting better at attacking.
And some sources even mention the capability of AI to make forensic investigations harder by actively deleting system logs, covering its tracks.
That paints a pretty bleak picture. It's like facing an adversary that not only attacks but also learns from the encounter and then cleans up after itself. So what are some of the novel and emerging threats and scams that are appearing thanks to this? Well, weaponization of AI.
Well, the sources indicate that malicious actors are constantly innovating, finding new ways to exploit AI. Generative AI, again, is proving particularly effective for social engineering and phishing scams.
Because it can mimic humans better.
Exactly. Because AI can now convincingly mimic human behavior in digital interactions, emails, chats. These scams are becoming increasingly difficult for even cautious individuals to spot.
It's getting harder to trust what you see online or who you think you're talking to.
Very much so. The sources mentioned a U.S. Senate Special Committee on Aging report
Okay.
that warned about chatbots being used to simulate human conversations, specifically to extract personal information. That's a serious concern, especially for, more vulnerable populations.
Absolutely.
And we're also seeing a rise in highly sophisticated impersonation attacks using deepfakes and voice cloning.
Right, the deepfakes. Tell me more about that.
Well, there was that instance involving the former CCO of Binance.
Oh, I remember hearing something about that.
Targeted by deepfake scammers back in 2022, it really illustrates the potential for significant financial damage. Imagine receiving a video or audio message from someone you trust.
Like your boss or a family member.
Exactly. Requesting sensitive information or a financial transaction. And it looks and sounds exactly like them, but it's entirely fabricated by AI.
That's incredibly unsettling. And it seems cybercriminals are even developing their own dedicated AI tools for this stuff.
Yes, the sources mention platforms like HackGPT and WormGPT.
Catchy names.
They're specifically designed to aid in the creation of malware. It's like providing cybercriminals with an AI co-conspirator, basically.
An AI partner in crime.
Precisely. And to really grasp the breadth of this challenge, it's important to understand the specific ways hackers and scammers are leveraging AI to target individuals.
Okay.
The sources reference a 2020 report from Georgetown's Center for Security and Emerging Technology. It highlighted automation as a primary motivation for hackers adopting AI.
Automation makes perfect sense. If you can automate creating and sending phishing emails or finding software flaws,
Right.
you can just hit so many more targets. Increase your odds.
Exactly. And AI's impact isn't just about scale, it's also about increasing the effectiveness of targeted attacks like spear phishing and social engineering.
How so?
By analyzing vast amounts of publicly available information, social media, company websites, you name it,
Yeah.
AI can craft highly personalized and believable fake communications, tailored specifically to you, which significantly increases the likelihood of success.
Making the bait much more tempting.
Precisely. And as we mentioned, AI's speed in detecting and exploiting system vulnerabilities. Analyzing software patches, open source code, it gives attackers a considerable head start.
Okay, let's dig into some of these specific AI hacking threats in more detail then, as the sources laid them out. First up, deepfake AI hacking. We've touched on it, but what are the core techniques? How are they made?
So, deepfakes, as the sources explain, rely on generative AI. They produce realistic video, photo, and audio imitations of individuals.
Imitations.
Often using techniques like face swapping, putting one person's face onto another's body digitally,
Right.
or more subtle facial manipulation, altering expressions, mouth movements to match new audio, that sort of thing. The ultimate goal is to create a deception so convincing that it can manipulate people.
Get them to take specific actions or just believe false information.
Exactly.
And the potential consequences are huge. The sources highlight how deepfakes can trick employees into revealing confidential data. And they're powerful tools for spreading disinformation, obviously.
Right.
There was a statistic mentioned from the World Economic Forum.
Yeah, that significant percentage, I think it was 66% of cybersecurity professionals experienced deepfake attacks back in 2022. It really shows how prevalent this is becoming.
66%.
Wow.
Okay. What's next? Generating malware.
Right. Generating malware using AI. This involves leveraging generative AI to create malware that can adapt and change its underlying code.
The self-evolving thing again.
Yes, that characteristic is known as polymorphism. It does it specifically to evade detection by traditional signature-based antivirus systems.
So instead of a fixed fingerprint that antivirus software looks for,
Right.
the malware keeps changing its look, making it much harder to spot and block.
Exactly. And the sources note that despite efforts to, put safeguards on these AI models,
Yeah.
there are still online forums, dark web forums, apparently, offering AI malware creation services.
That's deeply concerning. Okay, what else? AI social engineering.
AI-enhanced social engineering. We've talked about how AI amplifies these attacks.
Right.
But the core idea is using AI to automate and refine the manipulation of individuals, getting them to divulge sensitive info, credentials, click on malicious links.
But doing it better with AI.
Yes, because AI can analyze psychological profiles based on online data, maybe, and tailor highly effective, personalized social engineering tactics.
Like having an AI psychologist working for the bad guys, crafting the perfect manipulation strategy for each target.
That's a good analogy. Then the sources also mention AI in brute force attacks. I always thought of brute force as just trying every password combination. Kind of basic.
Me too. How does AI change that?
Well, AI can significantly speed them up. It analyzes patterns in user behavior, common password structures, maybe even leaked password lists.
Ah,
And it prioritizes the most likely password combinations first. So it makes the attack much more efficient, drastically cutting down the time needed to potentially crack an account.
so it moves beyond just random guessing to a more targeted, intelligent guessing.
Precisely. And then there's AI hack phishing, which, again, builds on traditional phishing.
Using AI to make the emails look even more real, more
Yep.
personalized.
Exactly. And the statistic from the Harvard Business Review was quite stark here.
What was that?
It showed a significantly higher success rate. I think it was around 60% fell victim to AI automated phishing compared to non-AI phishing.
60%. That's huge.
It is. And as the sources point out, you combine that higher success rate with reduced cost for the attacker.
Yeah.
It makes AI-powered phishing a very attractive and dangerous tool for cybercriminals.
No kidding. Okay, what about CAPTCHAs? Those annoying prove you're human tests. I thought they stopped bots.
Well, they were designed for that, but AI has made huge strides in image recognition, pattern analysis,
Right.
all the things needed to solve CAPTCHA.
So AI can beat them now.
Increasingly, yes. AI can effectively solve many types of CAPTCHA forms by learning the patterns from how humans solve them. It undermines that key defense against automated attacks.
Okay, that's not great. And then there's voice cloning, AI hacking. We touched on this. Replicating voices.
Yeah, the ability to duplicate someone's voice, their audio fingerprint, from a relatively short audio sample, maybe scraped from online videos or voicemail.
And the implications.
Serious security implications, especially for systems using voice recognition for authentication, biometric security compromised, plus all the possibilities for fraud and impersonation scams.
Right. And finally, there was one more.
AI keystroke listening. This one sounds quite sci-fi.
Keystroke listening. How?
Some AI tools, according to the sources, can analyze typing patterns, maybe even the subtle sounds of keystrokes picked up by a device's microphone,
Serious.
with high accuracy, potentially recording passwords or other sensitive info as you type. It's a very stealthy way to gain access.
Wow. Okay. That really paints a concerning picture of how the threat landscape is evolving with AI.
It definitely does.
And to really underscore the significance of this shift, the sources provided some rather sobering statistics related to AI hacking and cybersecurity. Let's maybe highlight a few.
Sure. Well, the global market for AI-based cybersecurity, it's projected to reach a staggering figure, like $133.8 billion by 2030.
That shows the scale of the expected problem and the investment needed to fight it.
Exactly. And then there's the prediction. Up to 90% of online content might be synthetically generated by 2026.
90%. That's
Yeah.
mind-boggling. Think about trying to figure out what's real.
Profound implications for trust, verification, everything, really. And the stats on businesses suffering losses, financial, customer trust, legal issues from AI scams, it highlights the very real-world impact happening now.
Absolutely. And the point made about AI potentially making attacks more impactful, because attackers can use AI to analyze stolen data faster, to train more AI models.
Yeah, it creates this dangerous feedback loop. The attacks get better because of the data they steal.
And security professionals are seeing this already, right?
Oh, yeah. A large majority, 75%, saw an increase in attacks in the past year. And 85% of them attributed it, at least partly, to generative AI use by bad actors.
That's a clear signal from the front lines.
And yet, there's this reported lack of confidence among IT decision makers. About half aren't confident in their defenses against AI attacks.
Especially deepfakes.
Particularly deepfakes, yeah. Only about half felt highly confident they could detect a deepfake of their own CEO.
That's a critical vulnerability.
And security agencies, like the NCSC, their assessment is pretty blunt. AI lowers the barrier for various threat actors. It's likely to exacerbate the global ransomware threat.
making ransomware even worse than it already is.
That seems to be the concern. And the commoditization of these AI capabilities will likely enhance not just cybercrime, but state actor capabilities too.
Okay, so it's urgent. The sources also included some detailed analyses, like in tables. What was the significance of those?
They basically offered a structured way to look at the potential impact of AI across the different stages of a cyber attack.
Like reconnaissance, delivery, exploitation.
Exactly. Identifying where AI gives attackers the biggest boost. It helps defenders focus strategies and resources where they're needed most. It gives a more granular view of the threats.
And while the sources were careful to say that, LLMs can't yet run entire cyber attacks all by themselves.
Right, not fully autonomously.
Yeah.
Yet.
The ongoing advancements in unsupervised learning and autonomous systems, that's something we need to watch very closely.
Absolutely. It's not a static threat. It's constantly evolving, which is why the policy recommendations highlighted are so important.
Like what?
Things like developing testing standards for these advanced AI models, specifically assessing cyber risks, managing the risks from generative AI while still allowing open development, investing in AI content labeling, figuring out what's human-made and what's AI,
That seems crucial.
and proactively addressing the challenges of AI-based autonomous agents. Plus, you see governments stepping in, like the Biden administration's executive order requiring reporting on training certain AI models.
Ones with national security implications.
Right. It signals a growing recognition at the highest levels that AI misuse is a serious cybersecurity issue.
Okay. So it's clear the malicious use of AI is a huge challenge. It requires immediate serious attention. But the sources did offer a glimmer of hope, right?
But-
Using AI for defense.
Yes, exactly. Fighting fire with fire.
How does that work?
Well, the same capabilities that make AI a potent weapon for attackers, pattern recognition, speed, data analysis, can also be harnessed to create more sophisticated, more effective cybersecurity solutions.
So AI can help predict threats, detect them faster?
Predict, detect, and neutralize cyber threats, often in real time, with potentially greater accuracy and lower cost, because AI can sift through vast amounts of data looking for those subtle anomalies that human analysts might miss.
And the sources mentioned specific companies already doing this, integrating AI into their security platforms.
Yes, like Sang4 using AI algorithms in their Cyber Command platform for monitoring malware and security events linked with threat intelligence, or their endpoint secure product using an AI detection engine.
So AI is becoming an indispensable tool for the defenders too.
It really is. As the sources conclude, AI can be a crucial strategic asset for safeguarding organizations against AI-powered hacking. It's an ongoing technological arms race for sure.
But AI offers significant potential for bolstering our defenses. Thank you for joining us on this episode about the future of artificial intelligence. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and learned something new. See you next time.
Consider how the increasing sophistication of AI-powered attacks might necessitate a fundamental shift in our approach to digital security, moving from reactive defense to proactive, AI-driven threat hunting. What new skills and technologies do you think will be essential to stay ahead in this evolving landscape?